Hell yes. Episode 88 for everyone. Here with Zach Lemieux, my man. Back for episode 44. Thank you for making the trip.
No, it's 88.
Back from episode 44.
Oh, I thought you were saying back for.
We are currently here for 88. Yes, you were very passionate about getting 88 under the belt here.
Insistent.
Insistent.
Like
almost.
numerous times.
If you knew how much rescheduling had to go in to make this fall on 88, there was like 4 times I was ready to be like, dude, you got to be 87. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
this is just the
reserved.
universe. But
It's reserved.
it worked out. Yeah, something
Sick.
popped up last minute. We are good to go. You're here. Before we get into fun stuff here, my quick little plug is that I'm booking music videos for 2025. So if you're listening and interested in music videos, then cool, let's talk and make something happen. If you are a fan of music, then go listen to Shapethrower's new album, which came out October, November of last year. Something last year.
I think it was October 25th.
October 25th. I was just listening to the Topics Under the Stairs podcast that you guys did.
Oh,
and you guys
Jesus.
mentioned it in there.
Yeah.
And I really should have this information. I heard it literally 3 minutes ago. I heard you say that. But I don't have that information on the top of my head. But it's out everywhere. It's streaming everywhere. First album, first full-length album for you guys.
Yeah.
And I think I've done this thing recently where I forget to say what band people are in, where I've introduced them and we start talking, and then I go, oh fuck, 10 minutes in, I forgot to say Shapethrower. So
Shapethrower.
Zach is a bass player in Shapethrower.
No, I'm not.
Not the bass player. Zach is the former bass player of Shapethrower.
I play guitar in Shapethrower now.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Guitar and vocals then. Or so I assume vocals are still on the duty there?
Yeah, I still got to do that.
Beautiful. Still got to do that. Okay, so that tells
It's
everything to know.
10 times harder, but
Interesting. Also, these arms move if you want to move them. I was forget to tell people that before that, but that's my favorite little perk of these chairs here. Beautiful. Diving into the music video. So I feel like there's been a lot that happened since Shapethrower's been on here. I've tried to get different people on. It just hasn't happened yet. So the last 2 things here are the music videos for Death Dealer, which is the one I'll start with here.
Yeah.
And Death Dealer is filmed in like a shipping container kind of thing.
Literally.
There's all this B-roll of like executions and war and all this crazy shit that I would struggle to find to source if someone was like,
I don't know where he found that, but it's crazy.
It's very. I'm surprised YouTube let it happen. Is my other like, were you part of the planning process, or where did this footage come from? Where did this idea come from? Is this just Dom like writing lyrics?
No.
Story with him.
It was like a collaboration that we kind of did with our friend Mike.
Okay.
He did both of those videos.
Shout out. Yes, I meant to mention his name as
Mike
well.
St. Ange.
Yes.
Shout out Mike.
Directed and filmed everything. Yes, came out great.
He crushed it. We kind of were just like, we're going to do a video in a shipping container, and whatever you got to do to make it not be super lame, like, can you just take care of that?
I'm going to turn that fan off for 1 sec.
It was just like, I guess we didn't really think too much about it. He was just like, we took forever to get the songs, like the mixes, the final mixes to him. So we filmed it, and it was probably like 6 or 8 months until we saw anything.
Yeah.
So we were like so far removed from like that process at the time of getting it. We were just like, sick. Fuck yeah.
That's like one of the parts of music videos that no one ever talks about. And of course, to me, is a constant stressor of we film the thing and they go, oh, have the mix to you. And you film what, to me, the mix we film on is 99% done. And the differences that bands are working on are not noticeable to anyone outside of the band. But I also don't want to work on it until I have the final thing. Because if something does change, if they do delete a melody, if they do delete some vocal line or add some other backing, it's like I want to, it doesn't make sense to build off the foundation that might change. I want to wait till the foundation is done and then build.
Yeah, you don't want like a shitty quick cut in there.
Then you end up with this bizarre thing of like, we filmed and I'm eager to edit, and then 6 months and then 8 months. And it's like, when do you want me to do this thing? Like, when can I move on with my life and get this idea out of my brain?
I think that's the best part about it is there was no pressure from either side.
Yeah.
So like it was done. Like we did the hard part, which was shoot the video. And like, I think we were joking about how long it was going to take for the record to come out last time I was here. So it was just like, we let him do his thing. We sat back and did ours. And when it was done, it was done. We were just like, sold. Let's go.
Yes. And the shipping container, where was that at? Like that's another like on my bucket list of like just seems like a cool metalcore thing that I have to do at some point in my life is directed a shipping container.
I'll blast it now. I didn't want to at the time because we were like smoking blunts and drinking a bunch of beer, but it was a shipping container.
They were movie blunts. They were all fake.
Yeah, it was fake. It was a shipping container in the parking lot of the warehouse that I used to work in. My boss was cool. He didn't care. And we just cleared it out one night. We used it for probably like 4 or 5 hours.
It must have been loud as fuck was my other thought there of like drums in a shipping container. It feels like the loudest possible thing.
The cool part is that warehouse was in the middle of a fully industrial park.
Gotcha.
So there was nobody, and the cops never go through there at night because it's just an industrial park. They don't give a shit.
And of course, there's probably something even noisier going on than drums in a shipping container.
I mean, there's a ton of heavy truck places in there. There's body shops, mechanic. It's anything you could
the
name.
best like hide in plain sight kind of thing. Because I was imagining like a port or somewhere that there'd be a bunch of shipping containers, and it's like that place should not be having that much noise in dead hours.
I'll fucking show it to you on Google Maps. It's literally in the middle of the parking lot.
It's like it docks the entire location. I want the coordinates right now plugged into the show.
Like 40 people got laid off like the beginning of this year. So that happened to me. So fuck them. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I smoke fucking weed every day at that job. Fuck you guys.
I'll pass it along to them.
They'll probably see it. They'll probably see it.
Fire. Okay. So in the shipping container, does anything go wrong? Anything at that video shoot that we wouldn't have known from watching the video? Where I feel like these things never go to plan. These things never work out the way they're supposed to. This is the one exception where it did work out the way it was supposed to.
Flawless.
Hell yes.
Like 4 hours. Everybody just got fucking hammered.
That was what it seemed like.
Yeah,
we
were
like
all just blasted. Yeah. And then we just had like mad friends who were there with us. It was like kind of shitty because we were trying to like not be really loud outside the container. So there was a lot of us, 10 people being in this one. It's definitely not like a 40-foot container. It's probably like 30 feet. So it got a little tight at times and it was hot and gross. But it was fun. Like,
what time of year was it? I didn't even think about that part.
That had to be like pretty close in time to when we did the first one. I think it was like sometime in the fall. So it must have been like October, like maybe November.
Okay, so that's a good time to be in a shipping container. When you said temperature, all of a sudden I was like, fuck, this is the middle of August. That was the worst day of anyone's life.
We shot it on a Friday night and it was like sweatshirt weather outside, but with like 8 or 10 people inside the shipping container. It was kind of just like being in like a normal room.
I just had a flashback. I did a video for a band called Hollow City down in New Orleans, and we filmed in like a machine shop.
Oh yeah.
And it was after the work day had happened from 9 to 5, and then we got in there. So it was the hottest place ever. And it was the summer in New Orleans. So it was one of the places where you would walk outside and it was 120 and humid, and then go inside and it was 130 and dry. And it was like, I don't know which one of these is like,
what's
maybe not
worse?
whatever. Yeah, 80 and 110. But it was so hot both places. Yeah, one was super humid, one was dry. And it was the worst, like the hottest, most uncomfortable I've ever been in my entire life. And the shipping container brought back the memory of.
We definitely didn't plan it like well, like that. Like it just happened. Like there was, a bunch of people in my band. Like we're all kind of,
We're all doing our best.
Yeah, we're trying. And it very well could have been the middle of August, like with no planning. Like we agreed to play an outside show last year and we were like, oh, like that'll be sick. It'll be outside. And we were like, it's like the middle of August. I was like, fuck, it's so hot and muggy out here.
Yep. Where was that?
Ralph's.
Okay.
In Worcester.
Okay.
They had like an outside stage.
Does that mean you had to go inside were you inside the restaurant, like between sets? Did you have any like safety from the heat?
I think it ended up not being that bad.
Okay.
I think it was like a pretty standard summer night. Like I wasn't dying. It was hot, but
yeah,
I was going inside because that's where the bar is. So
where
obvious.
The fun stuff
yeah,
is,
they got like $3 Genesees at that motherfucker.
Okay.
I had a couple.
You could afford a couple. You might as well.
Yeah, definitely more than 3.
And then we're on to the Soiled Hands music video, which again to me it was like I was surprised by how like politically motivated these were. Where this is again very anti-politics, and it's projected behind you guys playing video. And I love the Bill Clinton sample here, which is the greatest sample of all time.
So good.
Just the epitome of everything wrong with politics is that clip of being like, I didn't do anything with that woman. I don't even know her. I've never met her before. And it's like, all right, buddy.
Yeah, sure. Like, I think we were a little bit more. I think we knew that's what we were gonna do for the cutscenes in that one. Yeah. I think that was like a little bit more planned.
Yep.
But again, Mike found the sickest shit. Just like it was, we straight up filmed it in a tattoo shop.
My next question is, where on earth was it?
It's a tattoo shop that's in Pawtucket. It's called Abracadabra Tattoo.
Okay.
Fucking sick place. It's humongous. So they like had a huge projector on their wall because they always play movies like in the shop.
Smart.
So we just did it in front of that, and he was literally just on YouTube searching like, politicians getting shot in the head, like shit, like crazy shit like that. Like, because we were just like, oh, we need something. Like, I think we all might have been like arguing over who got like George Bush behind them because we did the singles, and I was like, oh, like I want the George Bush one. And someone else was like, no, fuck that. Like, I want George Bush.
George Bush has come on this podcast so many times.
I'm sure.
And I don't totally know how or why. I feel like nothing I do or cover, it tends to end up talking about George Bush.
Yeah, he's a popular guy, I guess.
He's a recurring theme on this show.
Sick. He's a painter. You know that?
He's a lot of things these days.
That's definitely true. He's a couple things.
What is this tattoo shop? How do you get permission there? I know you're a tattoo apprentice as well. This isn't, I don't think, the place you're apprenticing.
No, this isn't
Are
our
you
shop.
just like friends as people?
Fucking Mike, dude. Mike
Okay.
St. Ange is just boys with the dude Nick that owns it. Shout out
Gotcha.
Nick. Shout out Maddie Crocker. They're both two amazing artists who work at that shop.
Hell yes.
Yeah, they just let us go free reign on a Friday night after they closed because Mike's really tight with Nick.
Okay.
So it was just like
Was it-
perfect situation.
Was it a good free? My fear of tattoo shops is always they're supposed to be so sterile that it always makes me nervous to like go in there and do the thing. And you're the tattoo person who would know better than I do.
It's
but-
like they have it set up real smart. Like you've obviously been in a shop before, right?
Sure.
So it's like stall, like where the individual people are.
Mm-hmm.
That's on one side of the room, which is probably like where your window is over there. And where we were was like past this wall.
Gotcha.
So I'd say it was probably a good.
So you're in the waiting room kind of thing of like you are at a tattoo shop. You're not
Yeah,
like
it's like their lobby, I guess you
Yeah.
would call it. It is probably a good 15 or 20 feet away from anything sterile.
hell yes. Okay. That makes a lot more sense there. But it's still like, yeah.
Yeah, I was truly shocked that they were like, go ahead,
Yeah.
shoot it in our tattoo shop. I was like, okay.
And also, like, I feel like a business like that normally wants to avoid any kind of controversy. Having like the politicians on the wall is like not necessarily controversial, but it's like if I'm a business, like it, yeah. Now my clientele's political beliefs are being summoned into this thing of like I don't want to alienate someone by accident there.
Yeah, I think that they knew, like, they obviously have their own clientele.
Sure.
I think that to say, it would not be a stretch to say that I bet a lot of that clientele does not know who Shapethrower is. Like,
It's fair.
you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a pretty fair statement. So I think they were just like, yeah, fuck it. Like, you would only know that that was their wall and their projector if you had been in that shop a ton of times. So
There is something so beautiful about like where we are in the universe of like most people don't know, and I think that's a freedom that we don't always appreciate. Like we want so badly to be known and to be recognized, and it's like I don't think I ever want to be at a place where I can't go into Stop and Shop or I feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable going into Stop and
No.
Shop for worry of someone recognizing me.
No
and
way.
it's this bizarre game of
Never.
like the 16-year-old version of us was like, dude, I want to be in Bring Me the Horizon, and the more I'm like, not that I've been around them, but I have been around
Yeah.
other people in that universe, and it's like. I don't think I want this for a single second. I think this would nauseate me and stress me out so bad. Like it just, yeah. It's this weird thing of like, I feel like we spent our whole life chasing this thing and then we're getting to an age and going, I don't think I want that thing. I think I'm happy in this little bubble that we get to exist in.
I agree with you fully. Like, a lot of people, like, I don't know a lot of people in big bands, but like, there's a few people that I've kept up with over the years.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle the invasion of privacy. And I think that it happens with like celebrities too, where they like idealize you and they kind of almost don't look at you like you're a person because like you're just this famous dude and they love your band and you guys are sick and like they've listened to you for years. And like, I think they like romanticize it and you lose like a grasp on the fact that that person is like still a human being.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like you catch them walking to the bus and they don't want to sign something. It's like, well, he probably is going to take a shower or something. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
People lose, like when you idealize somebody, I feel like you lose like a sense of, I don't know what I would call it, but you lose that sense of
Independence, like anonymity almost. Like
Yeah.
it's nice to be anonymous
Yeah.
in most of our lives. Like it's nice to go play, to go to the supermarket and not anyone give a fuck about what I'm doing. They just, I'm here to buy my chicken and that's what I'm here to
hell
do.
yeah. It's even when we play shows, it's like nobody knows who we are. We just walk through it's like, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Everybody's a normal person. It's tight.
And there's, I think, a freedom there in the creativity of it. Or I think that's the other like irony of this thing is like you get to Bring Me the Horizon. Or I'm using them as examples if I know anything about them, but just for the sake of a scale of a band. And like all of a sudden, like Shapethrower can write a record and put it out. You can choose to film music videos. You can do kind of whatever you want. And there's a long road that I'm sure you're probably more aware of than I am from all the Vanities years and all these other like projects you were in of like. You have this ton of control at the beginning, and I'm sure Bring Me the Horizon can tell the label that they want to do whatever they want, and it's going to get done because, they have enough power.
Yeah.
Most bands are in the middle, and most bands don't have that control or power anymore. Most bands are now in this place of like, well, we want to put out a record, but it has to blah blah blah. It has to meet this criteria. The label's saying they need 10 songs. We have 12. We don't want to cut these two off.
Yeah.
They need an interlude. They need something else to boost streaming numbers, or they want all the songs to be 2 minutes to help the streaming numbers.
No, you're right.
And it's like the micromanaging bullshit that you end up running into. And again, it's like we all wanted this thing, and now I don't think that thing is all that desirable anymore.
No, like I've been in one band that was on a label and it wasn't like an amazing label, but you learn like really quick that once you sign, I guess your life away is how I would always put it. they'll pretend like they give a shit what your opinion is, but they don't give a shit what your opinion is. They just spent $10,000 for you to record 10 songs.
Yep.
And
they're gambling on that paying off, and they think they know better than you. And they honestly may well in a lot of cases.
The guy that owned the label that From Atlantis was signed to, he was successful. He was in a successful band. And he took that gamble on us. And like, obviously at the time it didn't pan out the way we wanted it to, but that wasn't his fault. You know what I mean? He had 15 bands, and to throw 10 grand at every single band so that they could do a full length with like we worked with a great producer. We worked with this dude, Nick Ingram. He ripped. It was awesome. Yep. He did the From Atlantis record. I had one of the best times of my life, but you can't blame your label when you don't write songs that aren't good enough. Mm-hmm. And then they have the right to be like, well, I gave you $10,000. We housed you in this dude's house. We did the record. Like, I don't like this. You're going to change it. Yep. You kind of can't be like, no.
That's always the... Not that I don't think I know anyone who did, but I've heard so many of these infamous 360 deals of like, we're going to give you some money. We're going to give out a bunch of them. And most of you are going to be fucked in 10 years. When you're out 10 grand with no way to recoup
It's like pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like... Or like throwing darts at a wall. Like something's going to stick, but you could never guess. Like... I don't like what bands are massive now that when you first heard them, like I can't think of anything on the spot, but like bands like Kubla Khan, you ever think that band would be as fucking big and as sick as they are now? Yeah. When I first heard them, I was just like, all right, this band's cool. Like this is heavy, but like, dude, they're absolutely massive.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I still have photos of going to see Knocked Loose on like a Full Sail stage at Warped.
Oh my God.
And so it's like, this was already, there was like, whatever, it's a 200 person crowd. It's supposed to be there. And they were drawing 500 or something of like, there was already a thing of like, oh, they are not where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, they got that air about them.
But they also were, even the Warped Tour, which I think is probably like the good talent seeker as existed in our world of like, that was about as much of a verification of your talent as existed in our world at that time.
Oh yeah, that's what you wanted to do.
And I think Kevin Lyman is he's a lot of things probably, but I think one thing is like a good recognizer of talent and identifying of like this band at the start of the summer doesn't belong on Monster Energy, but I know by the end of the summer they will belong on this stage. Yeah. So let's put them here and let them grow into it. And it's like for even that guy not to see Knocked Loose is like, no, I think there's something here. Is like, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of momentum going on there. And
no, I agree with you.
They are everything and more now.
They're one of those bands where I say it, I guess to myself a lot. You either got it or you don't. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. They just had it the whole time. Yep. I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like they're not my favorite band. It's not my favorite thing, but they're so sick and they're playing Jimmy Kimmel. So
as good as it gets.
Yeah. Like what? And they're touring with Slipknot. Like how much better does that get?
Yep. I'm changing gears here a little bit. One of the things you said on here last time is that the older you get, the more you care about stuff.
Okay.
And what you were talking about is like feedback on records, feedback on your work. And it was an interesting like opposite to what I think most people say, where I think most people go, when I was 16, I cared a ton. And your thing was like, when I was 16, I didn't really give a fuck. No. And then I got older and went, oh, this kind of matters. I kind of care about it now.
Yeah.
Is that still where you're at now? Are you still finding yourself like really invested in feedback? Are you able to like step back a little bit more now and dismiss yourself from it?
I don't give a shit anymore.
Okay.
I'm in such a different place in the band than I was because like I think when I did it, I was probably only like 6 months in the last time we talked.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know, I've been in it for so long and I know we just talk about what we want to do and what we want to sound like, and I'm one of the main writers, so I just don't care. I know what I like and I know what they like, and if we all think it's sick, then that's what it's gonna be. I mean, I'm not gonna go around asking the dudes in the bands around us like, yo, will you like check this out?
I think the Knocked Loose example is a perfect one there of like, if they had asked everyone what they're doing, everyone would have told them the same thing.
Yes.
Like, we don't think it's shit. And it's like, no, they obviously knew. Yeah. They at least believed to a point where they're willing to keep it going. And there is some like, you have to have big balls in that world.
Like, obviously I still care like what like the homies think and like my friends, but if somebody in another band that was on the same scale as us came up to me at a show and be like, you guys suck, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. That's awesome.
Thanks. Sorry you feel that way.
No, not even sorry you feel that way. I don't I don't care that you think that. I've seen them live before I was in the band, and I've been in the band for a long time. I know the people that I'm in the band with don't suck.
Yeah, there is an undeniable energy there.
You can say that our music sucks. I don't care about that. Like, that's fine. Like, some kid fucking, dude, when the Death Dealer video came out, this kid comments on it, and he goes, "You wrote a song off one riff." That's what writing a song is, you fucking
Where do you
idiot.
think this thing starts?
Obviously that riff was the first riff, and then I wrote other riffs. And it's just like, I read that comment, and I was just like, all right.
Yeah.
What do you think? That I pull the whole song out of my ass in one go?
That's part of why I don't think I could deal with famous. I have so much trouble not replying to those comments. Where I had one of them recently, and it's like, oh man, I wanted to. It's like I'm gonna lose, right? There is no way to win this engagement. I'm not gonna change their mind.
Nope.
I'm just gonna look pathetic in the attempt of trying, right? There's nothing I can do that makes this any less bad than it is already.
It's like when you're a little kid and someone's like, "You're a doo-doo head," and you're like, "No, I'm not." And they're like, "Yeah, you are. You're a fucking doo-doo head," and you're just like, "Fuck."
It is. I was explaining. I was with some friends, like some high school friends, and I was explaining like the universe and some of the conflicts people have, and and they go, "Oh, you're just in high school still," and it made me mad because it was like, "Oh, that's so accurate." I hate how like small world this can become at times, and it's so important to recognize that we're all doo-doo heads to some capacity.
Literally.
And just try and move past that to a degree.
Yeah, you can't sit there and worry about what kids are commenting on YouTube videos or even adults for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're sitting there. I don't do that. I don't start shit on Facebook. I don't argue with people on the internet. That's just not ever been my thing.
Yep.
But if that's what you love, brother, you could do that for the rest of your life, but you're not going to have too much to show at the end of the day, you know?
I'm a sucker for reading all those Facebook drama posts. That's like my favorite hobby.
I run to I watch the video and I run to, not even bands mostly, I'm just always in the comment section just to see the level of how bad things that people are saying to content creators is. Like, the craziest one I saw last year was, "What race do you identify as? I'm interested in calling you a slur." Like, someone commented that on someone's video, fully committed. Like, and now that's a joke. Like, people comment that all the time on people's shit. And it's just like, whoa.
It's this bizarre game of like, I appreciate the humor in it, right? Like if that wasn't a genuine comment, if you were saying it to your friend, it would be, it's so dark, it's so funny. Like I'm hearing myself back in real time. Like, it isn't a funny thing to say to anyone. There's no time.
But like,
should be objectively funny.
I think it's funny because it's so out of
pocket. Is a world where I see the vision. There.
Yeah, you're just like you're so out of your own, or you're so in your own element of comfort that you just don't care. It's like, it's not even like you're saying it because you want to say it. You're saying it so that you could say like the most outlandish possible thing, and be like, oh, like my comment got pinned because I said like such a dirty thing, and it's just like, good for you, I guess.
I think I don't know. I go back to there's always this sentiment with like modern media, like we don't need this many voices, we don't need this many people talking. I understand it's very ironic for me to say that into a microphone that I'm recording and talking.
I feel
but it's like I would like to believe that these are real conversations that add value. That like these are real people talking. Like it's been very intentional for me to avoid any kind of gotcha journalism of like, here's a hot topic. Like, I know that every band that breaks up, there's two sides to stories. And the person in front of me is going to blame the other person. And the other person, if they were here, probably has a very good explanation, a very good rationale of like, well, no.
Yeah.
I messed up. But also, let's be very clear of the big picture.
I agree.
And I've done my best to avoid these things of like, I don't want to get in the middle of that. I don't care. I don't want to be posting clips that are he said, she said. I don't want to be BryanStars. Like, there's such a tempting button to push there of like, it would be great. It would make my view count bigger in a much more efficient and easier way. But I'd rather have a show that I think is ethical and good, that is smaller than this platform that is ginormous and shit.
I did a BryanStars interview one time.
Did you really?
Yeah. When we were in From Atlantis, he did one for us when we were in like Nebraska or something. Like somewhere in the I'll find it for you.
You got to share your porn star name.
Yeah, I did. I can't remember what it was. I hated that. It was just like, I'm not I'm like outgoing, but I'm not like what do you call it? Like when people are very like expressive and loud and they're like in your face.
Yeah.
He was like all of that, and he was not like, he's a nice guy to us, but everything was like goofy.
Yep.
And I'm just not a goofy guy.
Yep.
Like we were trying to be serious about that band, and it was like nothing that he wanted to talk about was sick or like got me pumped to talk about it. It was just like, what's your porn star name? Or I don't know.
Which bums me out because he was so close to something that is so good. And I think the value of what he did there, and I think Joe Rogan is another like controversial person in this day and age, but I don't know. I feel like I'm a fan of Joe Rogan pre-2020, and everything since then has been over my head, and I don't care to have a take on it. But I liked when he was interviewing people who climbed Mount Everest, or people who swam across the ocean, or people who fucking whatever. Yeah, did all these crazy things that he was interviewing for a while. Or
out there doing it.
Yes, those were the interesting ones, and now it's become a different thing, but whatever, who cares? But I think the value of his show, and I think the thing that BryanStars did well for a little bit is like making all these people human, where people go on the show and it's like, oh, this isn't the performative version of them. This is just like the silly having a beer with them version of that person, and you get to see them in like a real light. And Bryan like just leaned into that a little bit too hard, where he was, by being kind of a nerdy guy, he is like disarming and really brings out just like, who are you regularly? Because you're not going to cool guy that fanboy nerd kind of guy.
Definitely not. He was good at, like, everybody was just like, I think we all knew it was goofy, but like we knew that it would be a smart thing to do. So we took it, and like, I'm not going to sit here and say like it wasn't fun or I didn't have a good time or anything, but like, it was just nothing that I had never been put in a situation like that. It was like, we were on tour. We had been on tour for like probably months at that time. And it was just like, someone wants to interview you and you're like, all right, cool. Like maybe they'll ask about like the writing process, how long we've been a band, like stuff like that. And I was just like, that was crazy. What the fuck was that?
But like in that time, that was like early-ish internet where I feel like there wasn't a lot of human out there. Like everything that bands were putting out was still very controlled, and like there wasn't the stream of conscious Twitter feed that we can see from all our favorite band members now of like, I can meet you without ever talking to you just by reading through these things. And I guess what you post online is still a version of you, but like there's a degree of you that I can gather that didn't exist back then.
Yeah, you can get a taste.
And he had such a good thing of like, getting that human side out there, which I think is an important part of like, supporting a band is one thing, supporting a human is a much more like longevity thing of like, there's a world where we can keep supporting Zach through any project you go into, and we will support you. But if we only care about the band, then the band dies, and all of a sudden this momentum dies. And there's something that Bryan did very well there, recognizing like, oh, okay, we got to sell the humans here, not just the product that they're trying to sell.
I never thought about it like that. I always just thought about it like it was goofy, and I was just never goofy. I was always pretty serious.
It is also that, but to me, it's like it worked for a reason. There's a reason people attached onto it so much and wanted to know what people's porn star name was. And it's not that anyone cared what you would do in this alternate universe, but it is like it starts to get in your sense of humor and what you laugh at and get the band to laugh at each other, and like, there is something valuable there. But he got too close to the sun, I think.
Yeah, I think he did too. I mean, would I do it again? Yeah, of course I would do it again. Like, I mean, it was good free publicity, but I guess time and place. That was like probably 2011 or 12.
Was it like at the venue? Was like, I assume he comes to the green room kind of thing. You guys just do it there.
All right, we did not get green rooms. I think we did it outside the van.
Okay.
That was it. It was like very quick. Can I steal that water? I think it was.
Please, steal whatever you would like there. And of course, we've got all the options over there if you want them.
I think it was like a pretty brief thing. I'm not gonna lie. Like he came, we did it. I think he dipped right after that too.
That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, like because it was like you know what I mean. He wasn't there to fucking hang out. He was just there because it was like us. I don't remember. You know why? You know why he was there? That was the tour we did with Design the Skyline.
Okay.
He was definitely there because that was when they were like popping off with their wicked, weird business.
Yep. That sounds very up the alley of the guy, yeah.
So I think he was like, oh, I'm there. I'm going for this, but I might as well take a bite out of this too. I think he ended up doing it was like them, us, and the Browning. I think he ended up interviewing all the bands.
Interesting. Which is the
strange.
Good
it was a
business.
strange tour. It was a very strange tour.
I bet. Yeah, those have all have aged very differently.
Yeah.
But we're here now. Beautiful. Okay, so we care about stuff now. I think it is an interesting problem of like, trying to care about stuff in a way that is like healthy, and it's like I don't want to not care about things, but also like, we can't get attached on these comments now.
No.
Are you then now back in the writing process? Like now that the kind of dust is settled from this, is this back in the writing process? Like where is Shapethrower now?
We don't stop. We didn't stop.
Okay. Are you guys one of those bands that has 30 songs in the?
No, we don't have 30.
Okay.
We probably have like 10.
Okay.
10.
Okay. Which is still more than enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say probably wrote like 10 songs in the last year or so.
And those are like, you guys all, I think I was hearing you say that you guys all have like your own recording studios, so we're all kind of bouncing ideas around. So there isn't like a main driver here. It's all pretty, I don't know, all hands on deck kind of.
Maddie's definitely the main driver.
Interesting.
Cause he'll track everything like final or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll write by myself. I've just been writing for a long time. So I'll never bring incomplete songs. I bring a whole song, and usually for me, we'll sit there, and if there's anything that needs to be like spiced up or delved through, we kind of just sit in the basement and do it on the spot. Mike writes stuff too. That's a little bit different. Mike will bring parts to Maddie, and then like they'll collectively put it all together in the basement. Like Maddie will write songs by himself. I'll write songs by myself. It's kind of different for everybody.
I gotta go see this basement. I feel like I've heard so much about Maddie's infamous basement.
It's not. It's a basement.
It's a special place. It's Disney World.
No, it's not like Disney World. It's like, I don't know. No, probably not that either. It's magical, but like in a different way.
Sure.
In like a sleazy band dude basement.
The sleazy band dude. I was listening to your podcast with the Topics Under the Stairs guys, and you guys mentioned your secret language that Shapethrower has.
Yeah.
Is this still? Because I guess for context here, for people listening, I know this thing originates with like a couple of consonant switching so far.
I could probably break it down pretty quick.
Give me a size sample of this. Yeah,
I gotta think about it. I was kind of drunk when I explained it on that podcast. So peas.
I feel like, sorry, I'm interrupting my own question here. When I was in high school, we learned. I was in a psychology class. We learned about state-dependent memory, and so the idea is like if you're drunk when you learn something, you'll be able to produce it again better when you're drunk. And so of course, one kid raises his hand and goes, "Oh, so I should get drunk when I study, so then get drunk for the test, and it'll be better." And we all laugh because it's high school, but it sounds like the same thing here. Of like you learn this language when you're drunk, and it feels like impossible to do sober, and then you get liquored up and be like, "All right, this thing's flowing now. It's good to go."
That's how we play shows.
Yep.
We usually practice drunk, and we definitely play shows drunk. So
practice how you play.
All right, so P and B you can switch. So be like Shapethrower.
Yep.
You can switch T
Peanut butter.
Yeah. You can switch D and T, and then C and K are both at the same time or separately switchable for G.
Okay.
So like, I'm trying to think of like a good one. I don't know, like Gatorade would be like Caterate.
Sure.
And it just started as a joke, and it ended up just being like, I can say something to one of them in public in front of 10 other people, and they're like, what the fuck was that? And then like the person will fully understand what I said.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
You're on like secret little pig line.
Yeah. Maddie's like Maddie Gonnelly.
Okay.
Maddie Gonnelly.
Yeah.
I'm Zag.
Has this evolved at all? Where the reason I brought it up is because at the time you guys had a couple continents. Is this something like every month you're adding a new pairing, or is it kind of like solidified right now?
The last new one was Z and S.
Okay.
So I'm Sag. I think that's it. I mean, it gets really complicated, especially when you start drinking like Jameson and stuff. You got to like stop, and I got to like carry the two. And I'm like trying to do like the math of getting it right. It's tough. It's a hard thing. It started out fun, but it actually became like pretty complicated to keep up with.
I assume written is a way more digestible version of this thing, and then once it gets like spoken aloud.
Never written it down.
No, okay.
No, I'm just head translating as I go.
There's no, I mean, like through text, through group messages, like that must be like seems way more digestible.
All right,
to me.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I can keep up with that.
So the Shapethrower group chat is called Shapethrower on Messenger,
Yep.
and my name in it is Gelly Glarkson. So like that's just basically
That's it.
It's stupid. It's stupid as fuck, but
It is, but it's the fun band stuff. I think that's like I don't know. That's always my takeaway from like anytime I've like toured to spend time with the band. It's like I appreciate how many inside jokes are, how many layers are to this thing that are like it really highlights like how close knit you guys become through all the bullshit that it takes to be in a band.
yeah, and there's a lot of downtime being in a band.
Yeah,
you know.
And I think the language is like the perfect little example of like their Boundaries is the other band that comes to mind. Like they have so many inside jokes. Like it's impossible to hang out with them if you haven't spent the last month with them. because they're just completely in their own frequency and everyone's laughing. Like, you're very much aware that I'm a step behind their language, but it's a constant stream of their own.
I'd say it's like
own
that.
Little stuff.
It's like that for us too. Nobody takes anything seriously until we have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's not a problem until it's a problem.
Which usually isn't a problem. But
yeah, no, we're just fucking around.
Which also I think allows something like the store shipping container to work. Where there's some part of my anxious brain that'd be like, I don't know about this. And it's like, no. Sometimes we just need to go and fucking figure it out and make it happen.
I was a little bit worried about it, obviously, because it was where I worked.
Sure.
But it like I said, it came out so much later than when we filmed it that at that point I like kind of wasn't worried about it because I was like, nobody's gonna remember that we did that, and I don't even work there anymore. So.
Yeah. And there is, the beautiful local band or smaller band like anonymity that we were talking about earlier. That comes back of like, this is gonna be fine. But there's a world where this thing grows, and in 10 years, it's very funny to look back and that business is like, hey, they started in our shipping container. Yeah. I guess not started. I guess you're already 10 years in. But started.
They've been cooking for a while.
Yeah. But it feels like there is like a recent push to like legitimize yourself. So I think I've heard Maddie talk about this. So like it's the current thing of like, all right, we've had a bunch of guys play music. How do we turn this into a thing that we all believe in and then can like grow roots from this thing?
Yeah, I would say it's like that. I mean, we played a lot of shows since I joined, and things have gotten a lot more serious since I joined, I would say. Everything's we just like hit a stride with writing and playing and stuff like that, and it's...
What does getting more serious mean? Like what steps? Is that an active conversation? Like what does that look like? What do you do to make a band more serious? Like to me, it's like I'd get 4 of my friends together, I'd start playing music, and then what? What is the process there?
We put the record out. Like we paid for the ads with Jay and stuff. Like you buy a bunch of we spent the first 2 years I was in the band just stacking fucking money. And I'm not going to sit here and act like, you know what I mean? It was enough to spend after we played like 15 or 20 shows. Yep. We had enough money to pay for our run of merch, which in turn is going to make us money. Mm-hmm. But that was when it was like, when I joined, they were like, all right, like we're serious. So we just showed up, did the best we could, played for whatever money we could get. And, like we got the merch, all about the merch. We paid for the merch, and that's when it was just like, when we got that and got the record out, it was just like, okay, like you can see the concrete start to dry, I guess would be like a good way to say it. Like we laid the concrete for a long time, and now we're like watching it set. Yeah. It's cool.
And then trying to gather. Is that like the game of getting like for a band building like their overhead or their like net worth? I don't know what the term would be, like the equity in the band. Is it merch? Is that the big driver? Is this like, are there any other ways that we can grow a band, or is it really just about selling all the t-shirts to buy more t-shirts to keep the thing growing?
I'm sure there's a lot of things you can do, but me personally, like I am the epitome of what I'm about to say. I love merch, love it. And I love buying merch when I'm fucking blasted. There's nothing, I'm literally fucking blasted. Balancing composure, I was fucking blasted. I love nothing more than seeing what bands have, what it's printed on, and just fucking spending $100 after I already spent $100 at the bar. You know what I mean?
I guess.
Yeah, that's just one of my guilty pleasures.
That is 100% why merch at shows works so much. It's like captive audience, already spending money. They're already they're already in the motion of it.
Yeah, and it's like once you get like a couple, 2, 3 in you see the band and they're sick. You're like, fuck it. Yeah. You know, it's everybody makes the joke that you're like a t-shirt salesman that also plays music. Mm-hmm. It's not wrong. Like if you have sick merch, and you print it on the right stuff and you know what to do, it makes you money. Like we played that show at Ralph's and we sold a lot of merch for how many people were there. Yeah. And we were very surprised by the amount of money that we made from one singular night because we had only had one t-shirt design before that. So to see it go from that one design to having like 2 shirts, a sweatshirt, 2 old shirts, like whatever else we ended up doing, I don't even remember at this point, but you see like even right there, it's like, cool. You know, we paid $2,000 for all this merch and then we just made a quarter of it plus back in one night playing one show, you know? So like that's when you can, for me at least, it's like Shapethrower is making more money than any other band that I've been in, because we play shows and we just put it immediately into the band fund for when we need stuff. When you're on tour, it's like gas, food.
Yeah.
We never had money. From Atlantis was always poor. Vanities was always poor. But Shapethrower, just nobody ever touches the money until it's time. You know? It's nobody's thing. It's just a collective stack of and I'm not trying to sound like a dick bag. Like, we sell so much merch. Like, we don't. But when you do the spread of merch, you see like
100%.
Yeah, like people are like, oh shit, they have more than one shirt. That's tight. Like, I'm gonna go look at that.
Yeah, and also like there is money in merch. And I guess my question for you here is like, what makes like a good merch table? And one thing to me that I always come to mind is like, I think it's smart to have like a $2 or $3 item here. And my like economic brain is like, once people spend $2, their wallet's already open. They're more likely to buy the $20 thing. It's important to have like a thing that brings people there in the first place.
Yeah.
What makes a good merch table to you? What's like your secret sauce for having a good merch table?
That's a tough question. I'm kind of a cynical person.
Okay, but as a connoisseur of buying merch,
fucking what is it printed on? Okay. I need to know what it's printed on.
Okay.
If it's Gildan, I don't want it. It's shit. Yep. I don't want it. Sorry, anybody who prints on Gildan. I'm not gonna say what I like because it's the best. Nah, I don't care. If it's on Comfort Colors, dude, you can sell it for a good amount of money. It doesn't shrink. It's fire. If it's a sweatshirt, Champion.
Okay.
Champion. I bought this for $60 and I was pissed because it was $60. And then I put it on and I realized it was Champion and I was hyped.
Worth every penny. Yep.
It's that and having good designs. We're really lucky we get to work with Apollo. Hi, I love you.
He's the man. I believe he's moving down to Nashville.
Yeah, 1994 visuals. Yep. He's the shit. He did everything for the record. He did our entire merch spread. And I think it's important to have stuff that other people think is cool, not just what you think is cool, you know?
Trying to have a bunch of different designs that appeal to different people, I think, is the hard part there.
Yeah, like we rolled with a few different ideas that we thought were cool. Like they were really obsessed with this idea for how, waste management? Like the trash company.
Yeah.
So they wanted one that...
Doesn't that exist?
It exists,
Okay, yeah.
It exists right now. It's the S and the T in like that same font and color. But the back just says clean your shit up, which is like tight. It was a cool idea. And I was like kind of against it at first. And then I was like, I don't really care that much. Print it. It's sick. It's a sick shirt.
It feels like wrestling fans is like right up their alley. I don't know exactly what the connection is there, but it feels like...
We did that. And then we did the other one with your pictures on it. Yep. And that was like supposed to be like a NASCAR wrestling, like, like a vintage. Yeah. So sick. Like, I don't know. We just tried to do, I always try to push it for what I think I would wear.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't wear it, I will be like, I wouldn't wear that.
Yep.
And I don't feel that way about any of the merch that we have.
Is it still for sale anywhere? Is it only at shows or is it online somewhere that people could go buy it?
I think we're trying to put it online right now. Cool. I believe that's in the process. But yeah, you can get it at shows.
For the moment, go to shows and get it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. we hopefully or just hit one of us up. I mean, it's definitely on Instagram, all what we have available, and we have it. It's sitting in boxes in our space or at Dom's.
Shoot a message. Yeah,
I don't know where
Cash
it is.
App.
It exists. It exists somewhere. It's somewhere. It's not my responsibility.
I don't know where it is, but it exists somewhere. It's a great sentiment there. Hell yes. And I know since we chatted last time, the tattoo apprenticeship here is kind of new. So I feel like it was starting last time and I didn't know about it. We didn't quite chat about it. And then at this point, it has become more of a thing for us. So I guess question one here is like, when you get into tattooing, is it relatively new? Am I right here? Or is this something that's happened over 10 years that I'm ignorant to?
Even the last time I was here, I wasn't an apprentice. Like I was hanging out at like a few of my friends' shops and getting tattooed a lot. That's kind of like status quo for like putting your foot in the door.
Yeah.
You gotta get tattooed like a lot.
You gotta know.
Yeah. So I was always just there, and I never really knew what the process was like. I never knew how American traditional tattooing worked, and like all the small niches involved. So I thought it was something that I'm like, you want me to draw a fucking eagle on your chest out of my head? Like I can't do that. I could never do that. Mm-hmm. And then you realize that there's things like classic tattoo reference that's okay to use and expound on. And once you realize that, and like not a lot of people, like, you know what I mean? It's like the process has its own level of secrecy to it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you figure out like what it really is, and you're just like, maybe I could do that. For me, it started out with painting. Like, I was not like, I'm going to tattoo, because I had like fucked around with tattoo machines with my friends, like drunk.
That tracks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, like what does everybody else do? Like, I have some really shitty tattoos from that time. And I did some really shitty tattoos at that time.
Are these like basement tattoos? What's the context?
Kitchen.
Okay.
So kind of, yeah, pretty much. They didn't have a basement. I'm sure if they did, that's where it would have happened. But yeah, no, I just kind of took that one instance of tattooing, and it was like, it was hard. Mm-hmm. It's fucking hard. I was like, I could never do that.
Yeah.
So then I started to paint. When I got like a little more comfortable with painting, people like that I'm friends with who tattoo started to be like, hey, like, what are you thinking? I'm like, I'm not thinking anything. And they're like, you should try. Like, you should try to shoot for it. And I'm like,
were you like painting in the shop? How did they become aware of like your painting? Were you posting it online?
No. I guess I should probably explain. Right now I work at Tattoo Magic, and that's owned by one of my really good friends, Steve. Cool. And he's been tattooing for probably like 5 or 6 years. And he just agreed to help me and teach me and stuff just because we're friends. And he saw that I cared about the craft and I put a lot of time into painting. Like, over the last year and a couple months, like I almost quit the band to do this stuff. And it took over hardcore. Like, I had to sink myself into it.
Yep. That's the only way to learn anything.
I never wanted to play shows. I never wanted to go to fucking practice. I didn't want to do anything. Like, playing shows was like a mental chore for me to stop and like not be at the shop. But he was at a different shop at that time. So like, I started painting there, and I wasn't good at all. And he left to start his own shop. And when he did that, he was like, yeah, I'll help you out. And I kind of just landed there. And yeah.
So I want to go through this piece by piece. And the first piece here that's fascinating to me is, that's kind of like an early obsession with getting into painting. That seems like it doesn't sound like you were drawing your whole life. It sounds like this was kind of new, like, I'm just going to fucking do this kind of thing.
I'd never drew, nothing like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, you kind of just like...
You mentioned the references of stencils, and that's one part of tattooing that always like bums me out sometimes because I've done a lot of content for tattoo shops kind of stuff, and whenever I'm like back there, I'm always aware of how much of this is just like finding references of like different things online and using Photoshop to like put these things together and then just tracing over that thing you made together. And it's like not a lot of this is, or I'm sure at some points it is, but it's not always drawing in this beautiful creative way, this magnificent thing of like this blank paint canvas, and I'm just gonna draw a tiger on. It's like
never.
No. We're gonna find a tiger's eyes. We're gonna find the shape of the tiger's face and the ears and the right angle, and we're just gonna stencil these all together. And then it is an original art that we put on someone. But
I'll usually find something that I think is cool. I'll take it. I'll keep whatever I think is good, like, because it's like a lot of that stuff doesn't need. The classic stuff, like, you just got to like tune it up a little bit. There's just some stuff that you can do on an iPad that people back in the 50s or the 40s couldn't do on paper. Like, it's like shit. It's just stuff like that. Like, I try to go and change like as much stuff as I can to suit my own taste and like what I think is cool. It's one of those things with like repetition.
Yeah.
At first, you're going to just trace it line for line because you have no fucking idea.
Yep.
But once you're in it pretty far, you realize that a lot of things are the same. So like shapes, a lot of shapes are the same. Like a leaf is also like an ear.
Okay.
If you draw like a leaf like that, it could also be like the ear of a panther.
Okay.
So a lot of things are the same, and like lines meet in like certain pockets and like certain corners. Like, see like right there where that line meets that other line. That's like you just learn how to embellish things in a certain like. Yeah, it's weird. It took me a very long time to figure out. I think I'm just now, in the last 2 months, coming into the point where I'm like painting stuff and I'm like hyped.
Interesting. There is like I feel like I sound like a little bit of a hater on the tattoo industry here. And like to me, music videos and film is the same thing of like it's very rare that a music video I make starts from scratch. It's almost always, here's this thing from Linkin Park made in 2010. Let's just make this again.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we don't have the same technology as Linkin Park. We don't have the same means, the same budget, same ability. So whatever becomes made becomes derivative and new because it's me trying to emulate that thing. And of course, it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be my own flavor in there.
See, but that's what makes it sick is because nobody else is going to do, especially with, you know how like art is relative. Nobody's ever going to be able to do what you did verbatim. And that's like the sick thing to me about art.
I agree 100%.
Is you can try. I spent a lot of times listening to a lot of bands and being like, I want my band to sound like this. I want my band to sound like that. I want whatever. It doesn't matter. You're never going to be able to do what somebody else does. I try to write shit and be like, I want this to sound like Gideon.
Yep.
Shout out Jake Smelly. But you know what I mean? Like, you don't. It's all derivative, dude. Like, you could think it's the sickest thing in the world. Someone else is going to be like, that's shit. And you're like, put 18 hours into that.
There's something very like, it's like, it ruins the magic, but it's also like the only way that I can create with any sanity is this idea of like, oh, I don't have to sit at a blank canvas and shit out a good idea. Like, there's good ideas already out there. And my job is to, find, I like the band performances from this thing. I like the narrative from this thing. I kind of wish the narrative looked more like this thing. And okay, now I have three things that, centralize in this new idea that didn't exist before.
We're talking about the same thing because it's like that for tattooing too. Like when I find something, there'll be certain things that I don't like, and you kind of nailed it when you were like, "Oh, like we'll take the ego, but we'll take the eyes from this other one and we'll pop it on." Like, that's what it is. It's all just zhuzhing it to make it like what you like. You know what I mean?
Yep. But it is, I think as a kid, it was always like, oh, they just sit down and draw, and it's like, sometimes you do.
They did. I mean, like 10
years
years ago, I'm fairly certain that's what was going on. Like, not a lot of people had iPads. There's a lot of people who don't use iPads, which
is wild to me in this
much respect because I could never do that. And that's not lost on me. Like, one of the biggest takeaways I have from it so far is I look at all these tattooers from like the 40s to the 90s, or when technology became sentient, whatever you want to say.
Yep.
I couldn't be a tattooer then.
Yep.
I could not be a tattooer at that time. I don't think. It would have taken me such a long time because you don't have that technology to sit there and learn. You know what I mean? Like, you could doodle on your iPad any goddamn time you want.
I have the same thing, and to me, green screen is my favorite example of this. Where green screen now, it's like I film you in front of a green wall. I click green on the computer and tell my computer, hey, if you see this color, make it transparent. So if the person has like green buttons on their shirt, that's also going to be transparent. But generally speaking, it's a click, and of course there's fine tuning. But in the very basic sense, it's one click, background's gone.
Yeah.
Early green screen with like Who Framed Roger Rabbit is like one of the first movies that did it this way. They had like a glass prism in the lens that you would shoot through, and that thing would reflect like the red, the green, and the blue channels out, or whatever, red, green, and yellow. I'm fucking up the colors there.
That's crazy.
And so you'd have the three new pieces of film with one color on them, and then you just use the two pieces of film and not the third one to get rid of the green or whatever. And so it's like this crazy math equation was happening at all times, and it was an insane undertaking. It's like I don't have the brain for that would have. Maybe I could have been a cog in that wheel, but the idea of like doing it is insane.
No. Yeah, I feel that way.
And now it's like, oh, I have all the power at my fingertips. And it's the same thing as the iPad of like, I don't know how this ever would have existed before. I know it did. I know they did it for years before it.
Yeah.
But I have no fucking clue how. And it's a humbling thing of like, for as good as I think I am at the thing, I'm so bad compared to all these people who came before.
I agree.
After the hard way.
I definitely agree with that. I know there's a couple of things that I know is that tattooing doesn't need me. Tattooing doesn't need a lot of people. And like that's like the difference, I guess, from now to like back in the day is if you sucked, you would get weaned out right away. Like, I think there's a lot of people, definitely myself included, because I'm pretty new at it. I rely on using the iPad. It's very helpful for me and it's a good tool. But if you pulled that shit out in like 1990, somebody get the fuck out of here. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like they're drawing that shit on tracing paper on a light board, doing it from scratch from inside their brain. And it's just a whole other wavelength. So like, it's like one of those things that's very humbling because that there's people out there who are just going to put you to fucking shame because they have that innate ability to draw from inside their heads. And it gives you also like gratitude for, you're like, I'm so lucky to be here because compared to the dudes back then, I am a pussy.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I couldn't relate to that more.
Yeah,
it's not the most flattering or like, yeah, it's not the part of me that I'd like to advertise the most, but it's very real of like, yeah, I think I've existed in a time where this thing is doable and possible within the means that are now accessible to me. And if, 30 years ago, if different means are accessible, like I don't think I get into this. Like my business only works because it's digital. Like if this was film photography, it's like this is a whole different thing that doesn't get off the ground because it's not as easy to get my film photos out to everyone.
Yeah, no, and you got to pay for film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, whereas this is like I could go shoot 3 shows a week and send 5 bands copies of each of the photos. And it's like, if this is on film,
that's crazy.
I can't afford it. And I also, and I'm fucking mailing them all.
Yeah,
like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, right. And it's like, even if you did that, you would end up scanning them onto your computer. So what's the point?
Yep.
And it sucks because it's like, it makes it really easy to disregard like the old way of doing things. And trust me, like when I get to the point where I've been doing it for a few years and I'm a little bit less reliant to make things on my iPad, that'll probably be one of the most stoked I'll ever be to just be able to like, draw something nicely out of my head. And it's not something that I don't wish that I could do. I wish that I could do it, but it's one of those things. It's like anything else. It's like making videos or playing an instrument. It's like you don't get good at that in a year or 2 years. It's like a decade plus for that kind of stuff.
That's there is something my dad, this is something that used to come on the podcast all the time, is my dad is a teacher or professor, and I always hated school growing up because every good metalhead hated school growing up.
Yeah, of course.
And I was always like, I don't need to know math. Like fuck that. Like what are we talking? Why do I need to know biology and how these cells like fuck these cells? I don't care about it. But his take was always like, once you learn how to do something, you'll learn how to do anything. And that was always like, I'm not learning how to do math. I'm learning how to learn the process of learning something. And then the camera has given me like the most freedom in that of like, I don't feel like I've mastered it by any means. I certainly in the last 8 years have come a long way from having to do 5 shows a week for free to now it being my job.
Yeah.
Where it's like, there is some tangible growth there. And that makes the podcast very exciting. Of like, oh, I'm in year 2 and I know I was in year 2 of photo and it was not pretty.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
For as happy as I am as this is going, it's like, oh, there's something very nice about being like in the infancy and knowing I am. And I assume music and tattooing is a similar iteration of this for you. It's like you've learned instruments, you've learned how to do the thing. And now in the tattoo, it's like being in year 2 of tattooing isn't scary in the way that year 2 of guitar was, where it's like year 2 of guitar is like, I'm not in Avenged Sevenfold yet.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no. I totally understand that it takes 10 years of guitar to learn this thing, even 1%. So being 2 years into tattooing, there's like a freedom of like, oh, it doesn't have to be great right now. There is still time to get good, and that's how it's supposed to go here.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like one of those things where guitar, like you could be as shitty as you want at guitar. You probably shouldn't be shitty at doing tattoos, you know? Like,
also, yeah.
Like I just 2 days ago started to tattoo myself. So it's hitting home. Like it's fucking difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult to tattoo yourself. It's difficult to tattoo the whole thing.
I want to get to tattooing yourself in 1 second. I want to finish up on like the learning process here. So you're learning how to like draw and paint. Is this like, I assume painting, I think I've seen from you posted that you're like printing out like sheets and then painting them in and then painting them again and like going through the iteration. It's like, what is learning to paint and draw? Like they both seem like abstract skills that you can't learn, but I'm sure like anything else you can practice and get better at them.
Yeah, I can walk you through like my process.
Please, yeah.
So my process was everybody has an iPad. Sorry, they do. So what I did was Steve, who is mentoring me right now, he gave me a book, and it was a book of like tattoos, like from the 30s to the 50s in New York.
Okay.
That shit is rough. Some of that shit is really cool, but some of it is rough.
Sure.
So you need to like the girls are like fucking one eye's going this way, one eye's going up, looking like, you know what I mean? Like their faces are fucked up. So it was like, he gave me that. You take it on the iPad. You first learn how to trace. Okay. And then after a while, you learn, okay, that sucks. I could fix that. Let me fix that right now.
Sure.
So you do that. Say you have your line drawing. That's all I do with my iPad is I make a line drawing. I take the line drawing. I slap it on the back of a piece of paper. Mm-hmm. You put it down onto a light board and you trace it.
Yeah, okay. And is this something that you're doing like on the couch from 7 p.m. to midnight? Is this like, where's like the physical place you're doing this?
Oh, at the shop.
Oh, it is all at the shop. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like my normal day until the other day, I'd go to work until like 4 o'clock at my regular job. And then I go to the shop and I just paint. Or if I'm not painting, I'm watching Steve tattoo somebody or I'm watching Mitch tattoo somebody. Mm-hmm. just to get the feel of what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of hanging out.
Yeah.
But it's like up to you how hungry you are, I suppose. Because I'm sure that there's a lot of apprentices who don't want to watch, or they're like afraid to watch, or something. I don't know. I don't know because I'm old. You know, like a lot of like one of my homies, he's 22 and he just got licensed. My mindset and his mindset are similar. We're similar people. But if it was me when I was 22 and him when he was 22, two completely different things. Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm lucky that I didn't find the passion for it until I was in my 30s. Because if I had tried to do this in my 20s, I would not have listened to anybody, and I would have thought that I knew everything.
Yeah.
And I would have done some terrible, terrible shit on people that they'd probably still be mad about. So at least I don't have that. You know what I mean?
Still paying to cover that up to this day.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and it's like you give people shitty tattoos, like not shitty, but like when you start, like
nothing's good at first.
you're propositioning your friends like, hey, you're gonna get this tattoo. It's probably not gonna be the best thing in the world. It's definitely gonna hurt, but it's gonna be free.
Yeah.
And I'll hook you the fuck up when I'm good.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's like, it's nice to know that you have friends who will allow you to do that. I have yet to do that. We're getting very close, but yeah, it's a weird process. See, like, you don't think it would be. Everyone thinks it's all freehand. I can't freehand stuff. There are dudes out there who can. That shit is incredible.
Yeah.
All the power in the world to those tattooers and those artists, because I envy that so hard. I'm not that guy, pal.
They'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also,
you know,
they weren't there 2 years into it, or most people.
Yeah.
Weren't,
No. Yeah.
Okay. So learning to draw, and then we finally get to like needle and skin. So I assume at this point you've also done like the fake skins that you tattoo. None of that.
Never.
Okay. So you went straight from paper to your own leg.
Yep. I've got other friends who tattoo who never even fucking painted. They just went to skin. That's the scariest thing.
It sounds like it to me, but I don't know. Fuck all. Yeah. If you're more confident than I am, then go for it. Have fun.
I wouldn't have learned the basics of, because the painting is like your tattoo. You treat it like where the black needs to go, what needs to be where, like where you need to leave space for like a skin break.
Yep.
It's all stuff that I developed through painting. So like, in my opinion, I think painting is very helpful and very crucial to learning, but there's some people who don't need that. They have an artistic background. They can jump on something and they know where to leave a skin break. They know how much black to put in it. They don't have to color study. Like I'll color study it on my iPad before I paint it, just so I don't ruin it.
Sure.
But, you know, there's guys who don't have to do that. And like, I envy that, but I am not that guy. I needed to learn how to paint so that I could learn the fundamentals of what a tattoo is.
That also to me is a very like mature and refined thing to like be like, I'm not that guy. Where I think, again, the 22-year-old version of myself included is like, no, I am that guy. And I don't even know who that guy is. I don't know what the context of this conversation is, but I'm going to believe in every context that I could be that guy. And it's like, no, most of us aren't that guy in any context. And learn to admit that and then do the work to become some like iteration of that guy is the more piece, like the piece that's most worth being proud of to me.
I think back then too, I was like a little bit cockier when I was younger, but I think even at that time, I was like aware of the fact that I couldn't do that. Like I've been tattooed for a long time, like since I was like 18 and I'm 34 now. So I've been around it. I've seen it a lot. I've sat through it a lot.
Yep.
And it was never something that I was like, damn, that looks easy. That looks like something I could do. Like when someone pushed me to be like, that's something you could do. Someone else had to tell me, this is something that you can do. And I was like, you're crazy. And they're like, no, you can do it. Just set your mind to doing it. Like you can't fail, you know? And that was like, oh shit, okay. So I'm like really in control of this.
Hell yes. Even if I don't believe me, if this guy does, then it's something. It is also a version of my dad's like, once you learn how to learn one thing, you can learn how to learn anything.
It's a process.
Every time I have to admit that he was right here, it like stabs me in the heart one little piece more. Like I fought it for this for a decade.
Yeah, and you're just wrong the whole fucking time.
Completely wrong. And still fuck those cells, fuck the chemical formulas, but like
it
did pay off.
It's the process. Once you learn how to process, and you learn how to be disciplined in a process, I think that's the bigger part of growing. And I felt the same way about school. I was like, fuck school, I'm never going to use this. They're like, well, you're not going to have a calculator. I have 3. I have 3 at all times, most likely. And, you know, it's just like, goes back to like picking it up at an older age. I'm lucky that I didn't try to fucking do it 10 years ago because I would not have a career or I'm not going to say, I'm going to say a potential career.
Sure.
At making it work because I would have jumped so hard into it and been like, oh, I know what I'm doing.
Hell yes. We're a little past our hour here, so I'll let you go in a second because I know that you've got places to be in life to go.
Bit. What time is it?
We'll get there in a second. But beautiful. The last piece here is that you recently, stabbed your leg. You recently got a tattoo yourself.
I did it last night.
Did that go to plan? Were there any surprises there? Like, what was the first time needle to skin like?
It hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, like, I did them on my leg. So, like, normally if you're tattooing somebody, you're over them and you can move to make it more convenient with your hand. Yeah, you can't do that when you tattoo yourself. So, like, here, like, see those little stars?
Yeah.
I had to do those. I did those on my leg.
Those work.
Yeah, they're
they
not.
Look like tattoos. The lines are clean. They're straight. Everything.
It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. And it's just challenging because you don't want to go too deep. You don't want to go too fast. You don't want to be too light. There's so many factors. And then people like they just stand over you and watch, which makes it even harder because I hate that, but it's part of it, you know?
Yeah. It's the only way to know. Yeah.
It turns into, it won't be your mentor forever. Then it'll be someone who's paying you money. Mm-hmm. I learned that lesson yesterday. That's like, you got to get over people watching you because it's not going to be your buddy who is helping you out. It's going to be someone who's paying you a possible good amount of money to do that and have it forever. It's like a responsibility for sure.
Yes. Raquel was just here last week and we were talking about how like this is all an industry of like being a good hang. And when you were describing a tattoo apprentice as like a lot of it is sitting around, it's like, a lot of tattoo is sitting around. Like you're gonna be sitting next to someone for 6 hours, and it's like the sitting part isn't the part of the apprenticeship that you're like paid for or interested in or whatever. But it is a valuable thing of like, can you be in a room with people all day and not have this person want to kill you after sitting next to you for 4 hours because they're getting tattooed?
You gotta be not only technically proficient at tattooing, you gotta be a people person as well.
It's a hairdresser, I guess, is the other equivalent of this.
It's customer service. Yeah. Fully customer service.
But in like a more intimate, like Walmart's customer service. But a cashier, I don't need to care about them.
They're also not shaving you. That's a big part of it. It is, you're right.
And it's not 6 hours of customer. Like it's this whole like niche, like elite class of customer service to me of like, if I'm getting my head tattooed by someone for 8 hours, like there is a lot going on here in terms of like, how do I know what they're putting on my head? Like for all I know, they're putting whatever bad image on my head.
That's like I guess that's when you gotta choose wisely.
It is.
Like I'm leaving here, I'm going to New York, I'm getting my back tattooed. It's going to be fucking awful. It's gonna hurt, but I trust the person who's doing it, so I'm not worried about it. You know it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck for a couple hours, but if you pick that person and you trust them, and it's a vibe. It's always a vibe for me. Yep. You know right away.
Do you travel for like tattoos a lot, or is this one of the first ones you were like? Because I assume this is a guy, and you're like, I need this guy, and this is when he was available, and you took it, kind of thing.
Yeah, he fucking rips. His name's Bradley Sizemore. He was in New York, and then he's in Pittsburgh now. So the first time I got tattooed was New York. I've been to Pittsburgh twice. And now, thankfully, he was back in New York, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting in there because I'm not going back to Pittsburgh for a third time this year.
That's a fucking hike.
Yeah, it's deep, dude, and flying every time. And you know what I mean? Sitting on a plane after you get your back tattooed sucks.
So this is like a third sitting of an existing piece?
This will be the third sitting on my back, yeah.
Damn. Okay, and is it like full back piece?
Yeah.
Damn, good for you.
Yeah, it's from like the top of my ass crack to, you can see it. It's like right there.
Peeking out, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it sucked. It hurt like a motherfucker.
And driving home, are you spending the night in New York or are you driving home?
I'm driving home.
That seems like a crazy drive home to like not touch the back of the seat the whole time.
It's like 3 hours.
Okay. You'll survive, but not the most fun one after you've been stabbed all day.
Nah. And I don't know, like I'm lucky I get tattooed a lot by the people that I work with and friends and people who guest at the shop. So I never forget how bad it sucks. So I'm just like, I just take it. And, you know?
People always say like, it doesn't even hurt. And I'm like, you're lying to me. Like, this is just like, I'm not covered in tattoos. I don't have any evidence. I don't have any.
Okay, chief. Okay, chief. It doesn't. All right, sure, man. Whatever.
It's like, I'm sure it doesn't hurt as bad as other things, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. What are we talking about? It doesn't hurt. It hurts when you stub your toe. You're saying this isn't worse than stubbing your toe?
I mean, like, I feel like a lot of people who say it doesn't hurt only have tattoos on like their arms or whatever, their legs.
Yeah.
Get your ribs tattooed.
Good. I don't need to.
Tell me that doesn't fucking.
I've heard everyone else tell me how bad it hurts. I don't need to find out.
Tattooing hurts so much that it puts me in a bad mood to get tattooed. That's it. Like I'm that far into it, unfortunately, that I just like I hear bang, I'm just like fuck.
Well, now you're in the driver's seat to make other people feel that way.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
So you get to pass all the pain along.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful. Zach Lemieux, my man, thank you for coming through today. Episode 88 of From Everyone. Where can people find you on social media? Where can they follow you? Where can they tell you you did awesome today? Where can they listen to Shapethrower? Find you guys merch shows? Yes. Give us all the places to keep up with Zach.
Follow me on Instagram. I gotta read it. I forget what it is.
I still don't know what mine is. Yeah. I absolutely should know that. And it's a question I get asked, and I'm whatever.
At FNRLFLWRS. It's Funeral Flowers. I just couldn't get the name, so I had to do like the 2012 thing and take out the vowels. Cool. And then Shapethrower MA on Instagram. You'll find everything you need to know in those two places. Also follow Tattoo Magic PVD on Instagram. Cool. Come get tattooed.
I guess my last question for you: how long is it from like apprenticeship where you are now to like being able to like take tattoos, like have someone reach out to you to come to get a tattoo done by you?
An apprenticeship is supposed to be 18 months in Rhode Island.
Okay, and how long are you in now?
I don't know. 7 months.
So okay.
So
I
painted a while.
Okay.
For like a year, and then I started to apprentice.
Cool.
So.
Okay. Well, go get tattooed by Zach in 11 months. Or 13 months, I guess, if my math. Whatever the fucking number is.
Probably be a little closer than that, but
cool.
We'll say that.
Go get stabbed whenever the opportunity arises. Episode 88, we did it, Zach. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for having me.